Black Baseball History. This is the December 30th, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Guys, we're coming up on the end of another era, another year of baseball, and we're closing it out quickly. So if you're new to this broadcast, just know that I give historic facts that occurred that involve African American baseball players, and these facts will come from December the 30th and through the ages. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. Once again, we're building a network here, and we're talking about a lot of stuff, guys. I think you'll hear information here and feats and facts that you don't typically get anywhere else. So this is a good place to come, and I hope that you'll take it seriously and keep coming here. I know some people are out there listening, but they're not subscribing. They're just listening. That's okay too. But believe me, I'd love to have you subscribe, and I'd love to know who you are. All right. So that way you know who's supporting you. And that always makes a big difference, knowing who your support is, right? And so, because the people who support you are the people who you want to support. All right. All right. So we're going to get busy and we're going to go ahead and start giving some of this information. So let's go back to December 30th, 1910. Frank Leland's Leland Giants. And now he also had the Chicago Giants in 1910. This is Frank Leland, and he blasted four Shamrocks pitchers. Their team did for 19 hits and 22 runs in a 22-2 victory in Vernon, California. That's Winter League action. Bill Pettis, George Wright, and Walter Ball homered, and Frank Wickware pitched a two-hitter for the win. That's a lineup right there. You have Bill Pettis. Yeah, Bill Pettis, also a professional boxer. I remember a guy many years ago, Fred Langford was his name. He was the one who told me about Bill Pettis fighting Jim Flynn. When this is before I even found it, checking, and I had to go to the library and do research on boxing, that kind, just to find that. Now it's a piece of cake because we have these newspapers online and all. We didn't that we have now. I didn't have that kind of resource then. So you had to really dig and you had to work. So yeah, so I actually got that from a gentleman by the name of Fred Langford, who had played baseball for the Kansas City Palace Colts with Bullet Rogan and Dick Whitworth, excuse me, in 1911. So that's how far some of the interviews that I've done go back. Okay, so Bill Pettis was a part of that. Of course, Walter Ball, he's buried in Burr Oak Cemetery in Chicago. And George Wright, how about this? George Wright's mother was a famous tennis player. She's in the Black Tennis Hall of Fame. That's a little trivia I bet you didn't know. All right, and let's keep it rolling here. Who else did I mention? Oh, Frank Wickware from Girard, Kansas. Yeah, I've actually presented in his town, in his hometown, Girard, Kansas, and then he left Girard and the family moved to Coffeyville. And I've also presented in Coffeyville, Kansas. So just as a great lineup, and it's not a surprise to me that they would take those guys out 22-2. All right. So let's go to another one. Cisco, December 30th, 1934. A surprise was sprung on local fans when Jim Candy Taylor, reportedly a 59-year-old pitcher and captain for the Philadelphia Royal Giants, tossed a 7-0 shutout. It was a 5-inning shutout over the White King Soap Company in the nightcap of a doubleheader in Winter League action. That's out in California. Once again, Winter League action. And Taylor allowed only 5 hits. Now, when you look at the recap of the team, I've done considerable research on that, and it just keeps saying Jim Taylor, and it says Jim Taylor, and then at other points it mentioned he was the manager of the team, and then on other times it says he was the captain of the team, and captain and manager were used interchangeably back then. So it definitely was Jim Candy Taylor. However, he was not 59 years old. He was 50 years old. He was born in 1884. So that was Jim Candy Taylor. And now his brother was a little bit older, but his brother wasn't out in California, and he wasn't manager of this Winter League team, the Philadelphia Royal Giants that feature people like Willie Wells and Turkey Stearns and Mule Suttles and Satchel Paige, Cannonball Willis. It was a good lineup. So they won a lot of games out in the West Coast. So Jim Candy Taylor, yeah, and I talked about him a few days ago when I talked about Marlon Carter, Jim Candy Taylor. So we got a few people joining. If you're joining, let me know where you're joining from. That's always important for me to know that, and I can maybe tell you a little bit about your town or something like that. So just let me know. And once again, this is This Day in Black Baseball History. You can probably see from the title. And so we just finished two facts, and so we looked at Jim Candy Taylor, 50 years old. Now just imagine this. Satchel Paige later on and pitched a game in 1965 when he was 59 years old for the Kansas City Athletics. So guess what? Where do you think he got this idea from? Here's Jim Candy Taylor. He's a manager. He's pitching at 50 years old. So this is not anything new. Somebody said they're joining from the UK. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I always like interacting with the UK. Matter of fact, believe it or not, one of the reasons I'm a baseball historian has to do with the Beatles. Yeah, 1964 when the Beatles came to the United States. I was in the second grade, big Beatles fan. I used to go to the store every day and I would buy the Beatles cards. Topps Company put out a set of Beatles cards. They were black and white pictures. And I would go and get these cards. And I made the mistake of taking them to school to show some kids in my class. And the teacher said, hey, these are toys. And she took my Beatles cards. And that was in 1964. And so I went back to the store to get more Beatles cards because my teacher never gave those cards back to me. She probably took them home to her children, right? So I never got them back. So I went back to the store to get more Beatles cards, and they were out of Beatles cards. And the only thing left they had were baseball cards. So I bought a pack of baseball cards. And look, here I am today, all these years later, from 1964. And man, what are we talking about? 60 years later? 60 years later. Here I am, still talking about baseball cards because of the Beatles. That's a true story right there. Right there. You're going to get stories for real here. Stories galore. But I tell it like it is, all right? So let's go down and pick up another one to see. December 30th, 1937, Sacramento Junior College. Sacramento Junior College in a 53-59 defeat to the Pasadena Community College watched as Jackie Robinson scored 20 points in an overtime win in Pasadena, California. How many of you knew Jackie Robinson was that great at basketball? And this is 1937. He's at Pasadena Community College, and this guy was just a fantastic basketball player, an amazing football player, and you know what he achieved on the baseball field. And guess what? He's a pretty good track guy too. So anyway, that's Jackie Robinson. All right. So let's go. We just got a few more. How about this? December 30th, 1953. The Cincinnati Reds announced the signing of infielder Charles Chuck Harmon for the 1953 season, and the coming off the season 52 with the Texas League Tulsa Oilers. Chuck hit 24 doubles, 11 triples, homered 14 times, and batted a sweet .311. Yeah, he was age 27. And how about this? He was also a former college basketball star. So these guys, they were multi-talented. That's why I love talking about them. And that's why I think people enjoy this broadcast, because we're learning about people that you typically don't hear about. And these are the kind of things that I really have researched through the years. And if you've ever read one of my books, and I'm getting ready to release my 10th book, if you count all of like the what we call the re-editions and that kind of thing, 10 books. And so I talk about the ability of all these players. Matter of fact, and I don't want you guys to cheat, but I'm going to give you a trivia question. And don't cheat on this one. But there's been only 2 baseball players that were, how can I put it? Let me see how I want to word it. If you could name the 2 African-American baseball players that received votes for the Heisman Trophy in college, all right? If you can name that, guys, the first person get that. I want to see what kind of listeners I have here, right? So it's a little trivia, right? Okay, so I'm going to go back, and that was Chuck Harmon, who played basketball and baseball. Yeah, and I was in Gloversville. Oh man, I think this was back in March, Gloversville, New York, and he played his minor league baseball there, and he broke the color barrier in that particular league. I'm not sure if it was in the New York Penn League, but it was some league there where he played for Gloversville, and they still celebrate him. And I was there speaking at the New York Baseball Hall of Fame, not Cooperstown, but the New York Baseball Hall of Fame. Did anybody get that question there about the two football players that actually received votes for the Heisman Trophy? Anybody know the answer to that? All right. And if you're joining, let me know where you're joining from. I did see a UK, and that's the only one that I saw. So anyway, let's keep it going. So I only have one more, so I'm gonna jump in here and get this one done. I certainly appreciate you guys subscribing and following and listening to me, because you think about in a day, there's so much more you could be doing besides this. So respect you and I appreciate you, and just hang in there with me, and we're gonna have a great time talking about sports in this unique way, right? So I guess nobody knows who the two ball players are. We still have time there, okay? That was the two African American baseball players that received votes for the Heisman Trophy. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go to my last fact, and then I'll go back to my trivia question. Uh, December 30th, 1972, Thomas Pee Wee Butts, sometimes they called him P.I. Butts, he died and passed away there in Atlanta, Georgia. And I might mention when the Briggs Stadium opened its doors to the Homestead Grays and Baltimore Elites. Now, keep in mind, the Briggs Stadium was in Detroit. So when they opened it up to allow African American teams to play, this was August 7th. And Butts, this was August 7th, 1942, by the way. Butts, in that game, he went, I did make some notes. Where's my notes here? Okay. So, no, that's not it. Let's see. I know I've got some more notes around here. Too many notes here. So, anyway, Butts played in that game, and he went something like, I thought I had it here. Okay, so anyway, we're going to pass on that. But, Butts played in that game, and I think he went 2 for 10 in that series, and he was one of the outstanding players. And actually, he did better than Buck Leonard did. And that was the Homestead Grays playing against the Baltimore Elites, and they split that doubleheader. And so, anyway, in 1942, Butts' name was mentioned by Sam McKibben, a writer for the Kansas City Call. He spoke in a conversation about who would make the grade for the American and National League had integration come. And Butts' name was mentioned right along with Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Hilton Smith, Buck Leonard, and a few other people. But 5 years later, when Jackie Robinson actually crossed the color barrier, several of those guys were too old to get an opportunity. And Butts never really got an opportunity to play in the major leagues, but he was good. And Campanella said he was every bit as good as Pee Wee Reese or Phil Rizzuto. And he knew because he played against those guys in World Series and during the regular season. One of them was actually his teammate, as Pee Wee Butts was his teammate when he was at the Baltimore Elites before Campanella came to the Brooklyn team, so the Brooklyn Dodgers. So, all right. So, anyway, that was Thomas Pee Wee Butts, died in Atlanta, Georgia. How many people have ever heard of him before? We don't talk about enough of these guys. And the reason, I can say this every time I come on, and here's the reason why. When we did the merging of the statistics, and I participated in that, one of the things they said it was going to bring maybe 1,200 new names into the baseball history from the Negro Leagues, who are now going to be classified as professional athletes. And so most people, they knew about any of the guys in the Hall of Fames, about 17 of those guys who have Negro League affiliation. They knew about those guys, right? But there were many more outstanding players. And that's what I want to talk about, is all these other people that rarely get talked about. And, occasionally you'll see somebody do a bio on or something like that. but for the most part, they don't get talked about at all. And so Butch is one that um, I was fortunate enough to know Othello Renfro down in Atlanta. He talked about him. Um, Willie Brown talked about him. They were Bob Thurman talked about him, and because they were all his teammates. And I have some great pictures of him down in Puerto Rico when he's down in Puerto Rico playing ball, and that's Thomas Pee Wee Butts. And by the way, he was a great high school football player. And I have a book called John Buck O'Neill, the Rookie, His Words, His Voice. And in that book, I talk about Butts quite a bit because in 1938, he was playing for the Atlanta Black Crackers. So yeah, just a great player that we could we should be talking about a little bit more. And then also when he was playing for the Baltimore Elites, a young guy by the name of Junior Gilliam joined the team, and he worked with Gilliam. And of course, Gilliam was young enough to go on and play many years with the Dodgers. And I was just looking to have a book here, a recent book here. I just purchased this, and I haven't had a chance to go through it all the way and read it yet. But this book is by a guy by the name of Stephen Ditmore, and an introduction by Fred Clary. And I know Fred because I was out in California, and Fred came to I was speaking for the baseball requillery there at Whittier College and in Pasadena. I spoke in Pasadena, and Fred Clary, who used to be the what do you want to call it? The general manager. He was the general manager of the Dodgers. He came and we had a considerably long conversation about a lot of people, Dick Allen. Uh, we had a conversation there. We talked about a number of people. Fred, excellent interview. And over the years, I've been just blessed to talk to so many people, guys. And I see. I'm gonna give you this trivia question one more time. And guys, I know you got quick fingers. You can look it up. I don't know if you know the answer just off of your top of mind. It said, name the two African American baseball players that received votes for the Heisman Trophy in college. All right. So in about 1830, so 17 minutes and 25 seconds. So when you get to 18 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll give you the answer. All right. So I do want to thank everybody for joining. We've got one more broadcast. And then that's going to complete the 2025 edition. Of course, today is the 2025 edition of December 30th of this historic feats and facts. And so it's been a fun year. I've learned a lot myself and met a lot of new people who've joined me and subscribed. And I'm starting to know some of you guys' names and all of that, but I don't know everybody. But I certainly appreciate that you're joining me. Okay, so we're almost there to the answer. Anybody want to take a shot of that? Name the two African American baseball players that received votes for the Heisman Trophy in college. And I know one of them real well. And the other one I've never met, but you know his name when I say it. All right. So we're about ready. 1825. Okay, I'll tell you who it was. First of all, it was Bo Jackson, who won the Heisman Trophy in 1985. And so I know Bo. He was playing with the Kansas City Royals when I was assistant director of public relations of the Royals. Talk to Bo all the time. I haven't had a chance to talk to him in recent years, but I'm looking forward to catching him at one of these sports shows. And then the other one, guys, it goes to 1989. Did you know Deion Sanders received votes for the Heisman Trophy in 1989? That's the other guy. Those are the two guys. And so it just shows you, even through time, through the ages, these athletes have been doing remarkable things in multi sports. It is my honor to continue to talk about them and tell you this history. So tomorrow was the last broadcast of the year, and guess what? I've got some multi-sports guys as always. This time of year, when there's no baseball, guys kept busy. And they didn't want to go and work at the post office if they could. They could or something like that. But, they had to work, right? So the best of the guys either went and played Winter League baseball or they went and played another sport. and basketball. We had guys playing football. And I didn't do much on Galloway, who played professional hockey, but I hope to do a little bit more on that later. So, anyway, guys, that kind of does it for me. I used to try to get out here in at least 20 minutes so I can go do some other things, and you can do some other things as well. So, thank you for joining me. If you like what I'm doing, by all means, subscribe and stay with me. We're going to have a great year. And hey, I'll give you some more trivia maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll ask 2 quick trivia questions tomorrow, and we'll see if somebody can answer these questions, all right, in real time without cheating and looking it up, right? All right. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. We're going to learn together. And this is Phil Dixon, and this is today's edition of This Day in Black Baseball History, the December 30th, 2025 edition. Have a nice day.